Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my series where we're making a game similar to the game The Binding of Isaac. In between the last video and this video, I changed the way that drops are working in the game. Of course, I'm not going to find a drop what I'm looking for. Let me just type in penny down here and I'll drop one into the game. So now when you pick up a drop, instead of it just disappearing, because what was happening is when you run into a chest, all of the items inside of the chest were getting added to your inventory, but you couldn't see what you were picking up. So now instead of it disappearing immediately, it just shoots it into the air. Then it does the effect in the air. I think it looks a lot cooler like that. I'm not going to make that into a video because really you're just adding force on the coin upwards and then playing the same effect. So it's not really that difficult. Anyway, so something that we haven't addressed yet is when you die, there's no way to restart. So like right now, when you die, you just get this where all of these zombies are just crowded around your body and you're just stuck dead there doing nothing forever. So ideally what should happen is the screen should slowly fade to black. So you should be able to see this like death effect where your character's like all of his body parts are everywhere. And then it should slowly fade to black, and then you should get the menu screen, or you should have the option to restart. Like, you know, in like the Binding of Isaac, you get a pop-up and it says you died and it tells you your score and how many items you have and all types of crap like that. Well, we should have that in our game too. So that's what we're going to do today. If you guys are enjoying the series, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I don't remember if I said this, but the entire project is available for download for free in the description of the video. So you're welcome to download it if you want to. So apparently I spelled initialize wrong. I've spelled initialize instead of initialize. But anyway, so this is going to be our problem right here. So we're setting don't destroy unload for these three objects. But when we load the menu screen, we do actually want these to get destroyed because we're going to be reloading the entire level, including the player, because your player, he's dying. You know, all of his parts are falling all over the place, and we don't want to have to put him back together. We are also in the process of killing him in the hard script. We're taking off all of his scripts, so they're getting deleted. So we would have to add them all back, and that's going to be problematic. And we want this to happen. So we do want him to fall on the ground and all of his pieces to fly all over the place. So we want this to stay, but we also want to recreate the player. So all right, so I've created a simple menu, and this is going to become way more advanced at a later time. So to create a new scene where we have the menu, you just have to right click at the bottom and click create scene. And then from there, you need to create the UI the same way we've done throughout the entire series. So we added a heart panel, we added the stats panel, we added so many panels to the game. It's the exact same as all of the other panels that we added to the game. The only difference is it's in a new scene. So inside of the scene, you create a canvas, and then remember on the right, you want it to scale with the screen size. I've created 4 buttons. Only 2 of them are working right now. So we've got the play button and the exit button. The way this is going to work at the very end is these are going to be at the very bottom left. So they'll be at they'll be docked in the bottom left like this. Yeah, so this is what the final result will look like with all of the options in the bottom left. And then so in the background, you're able to put models in this. So it's the exact same as it is in the regular game. So you have like your character and the actual game that's happening in the background. But then on the user interface front, you have like the hearts that are like the top left. We have all of the stats, all of the other stuff is there as well. So you could put models in the background. So let's just put the stick wizard for right now. So this is just an example. I'm going to make a scene in Blender that's actually going to be what we're using as the background, and it's going to be animated and have like maybe some of the bosses will be there and stuff like that. I'm not going to bother with that right now. This video is just about having a menu screen so that we can get back from the death screen, and that's actually a lot of work to make that happen. So attached to each of these buttons is a script. So this is the menu script, and I made this off screen, but I'm going to show you it. So when you highlight over one of these buttons, you can see that the button expands. And so one of the things you have to make sure is that you set the pivot to be 0.5. If you don't, the pivot will be at the bottom left corner, and it will make it expand up and right. So we'll go up and right, where it's the default of buttons is actually the pivot of all objects actually starts at 0, 0, unless there's like an origin if you've imported like a model or something like that. So this, you just have to change the pivot to 0.5. And then we've got like the highlight color. So this is the color that it changes when you highlight it. So you could make this like green or something if you wanted to. Each button has its own highlight color on it. So we're just going to Control Z. Okay. And the last thing to note is that we're not actually using buttons. So I've labeled these like button play, button options, etc. This is just a text mesh, bro. It's not a button. And so inside of the code, we have to inherit these interfaces in order to handle the methods. So we have all the variables here at the top. We're putting the variables into, so the actual values are getting put into the things in the awake method, which is like the same thing as the start method, but it's called before the start method. It's awake. When we click on it, we're checking if it says play. If it does say play, then we load the first scene. So if you remember from the previous video where we went to the next level, this has to be set up correctly here. So the indexes of your scenes are set up here. You can just drag them around however you want. Make sure that the number aligns with the correct number in the build index. So load scene 1 is the actual level itself. If it says exit, there's two possibilities. You're either playing the game in the built version, which means that you have to call application.quit. But if you're inside of the Unity editor, it's not actually the same. You have to call exit play mode on the editor application. So there's two possibilities. Yeah, that's just the way that it is. If you try to call it this way, it's going to have problems probably. So this part of the code is actually pretty cool. So instead of changing the color of the text and resizing it when we enter, we're setting a Boolean variable, which means that, so we're setting a Boolean variable here is hovered to be true. And so if you look at the update method, this is happening every frame. So we're setting the color to be a linear interpolation between the color that it currently is. And if it's hovered, it's going towards the highlighted color. But if it's not hovered, which means that you've removed your pointer, it's going towards the original color, and then it's multiplying it by delta time and the animation speed. So that basically what this means is, like, if you hover over it, let's say it's black and you hover over it and it starts going to white. If you remove the hover, it doesn't go all the way to white and then back. It just goes from wherever it is. So like, let's say it goes to 0.6 of the whiteness. 1 is white and 0 is black. So let's say it goes to 0.6 of the whiteness. If you move your mouse away, it will start at 0.6 and go down to 0 from that. And we did that for the scale as well. So that's a cool way of setting that up so that if you remove your mouse, I'll just show you, but so like you see, this is the full size, and if you remove it, it goes lower. But if you remove it halfway, it doesn't go all the way to full size before it goes back to 0. It just goes from wherever it is back to the initial size. So I think that's a really cool way of setting it up. And then inside of the player script, we've created a clear method or a reset method. So if you die, all of your stats and everything that's saved in static variables, which is how we're saving everything, all of our stats, like for example, your speed, if you picked up boots, maybe it makes you run faster and you have 60 speed. But if you die, that has to get reset to the default. So we had to create a reset method. And this is part of the reason that I actually did this off camera. And I'm just showing you after the fact, because this would be so boring to go through all of the variables and show you how it's working. Every single static variable that we set in here, we set it to the default value in this reset method. That includes the level as well, because our level is a static class as well. And there's things like the rooms that have to get reset, the angel room, the devil room, the enemy count, all of this stuff. Like, let's say you're in a room that has enemies, there's 3 enemies in the room and you're dead. Well, you don't want to come back into the game and there's still 3 enemies in the room. If you walk into a room that has enemies again, if that number's higher than the number that was already there, it could lead to you not being able to get out of the room. So we had to create a reset method to reset all of the static variables. And then inside of the initialize player, okay, hang on. We need to take it another step back. So initially at the beginning, we were talking about these items that don't get destroyed on loading. We only want them to not destroy if we go to the next level. But if we're just dying, we want them to get destroyed so they could be recreated. So inside of the player static class, we're saving the non-destroyable objects into a list of game objects. That way, if we die, which is handled by the heart script, at the very end, we can reset these and we can destroy the non-destroyable objects before we reload the scene, which makes it so that like we're reloading it as if you haven't done anything yet. We'll start all the way at the beginning at 0. And scene 0 actually is the menu, but your static variables still, they don't get deleted between the scenes. Your static variables are there until you get rid of them. So this is how we're handling that. And then, so at the very end of our death method, which we already made in a previous video, which is what blows our character up into pieces, we're deleting all of the non-destroyable objects. Then we're calling this reset method that we put on the player at the very bottom here, which just sets everything to the default values. This means that if you add any more static variables inside of either of these classes, player or level, you have to add the reset option at the bottom here as well. And then we're loading scene 0, which is the menu. So I think that might be it. Oh, also inside of the item manager, you have to add it here as well, because the item manager doesn't get destroyed on load either, but it's not in the initialize, it's here. So you have to add this one as well to the non-destroyable game objects. And so I'll show you how it's working. So let me just restart. I guess I didn't really need to restart it. So if you press play, you go into the game. If you, oh, that coin just fell through the ground. This is a brand new a brand new start room that I've been working on. It just has higher detail than the other one. So let's go, and so you can see that we have 1 key and 9 bombs because we wasted a bomb. So if these guys kill me, oh, also we created a transition from the thing. So when you die, we've created an animation that actually does this. So let's get out of the menu scene and go back to level 1. So in the UI, we did this before for the damage and for transitioning to the devil room and that kind of thing. I added another panel here called menu transition panel. And so inside of this, I created an animation. So if you just go into the animation tab, because I've already created it, it's here, but there'll be an add animation button. I clicked that at the very beginning. You just click this record button, and then you set the alpha of this to 0. And then in the last frame, which I set at 1 second, I set the alpha to full, which blacks out the screen. So if you click play on this, oh, it's not playing because the game object is not turned on. So you can see that as it goes, it blacks out the screen. And then after it's done blacking out, it loads the next screen. So the way this is working is that when you die, in the hard script here, when you're dying, at the very top, we're enabling this menu transition, which we've loaded using the initialize player method as well. So there's a static variable for the menu transition in the level that we've added here. In the initialize player, we've added this at the top right here, and then we've set this value right here. So then when you die, you can call level.menu transition, which is disabled by default. When you enable it, because the animator is enabled, it will automatically play the default animation, which is the transition that you just saw. This animator will automatically get added when you create the animation. So it does all of that by default, and that's how it's working. And yeah, so that's basically a way that you can have a menu. There's still a lot more that has to get onto it. So the way it's going to work in the future is that when you die, you'll have like a score screen or some type of screen. But we haven't set that up yet. It's going to be a lot of effort to do that. So there's going to be like a lot that kind of goes into that. I want to think about that a lot before I actually make it. But this is set up in a way where you can die and start over and the game is working. So, and again, this is in the bottom left corner because this will be like a scene. So anyway, that's going to be it for the day. I hope you guys are enjoying my series. If you are, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.